So here at Mr. Vladis Baranovskis, what did you do?
I came 7th place at the Dublin Regional with a normal Tearlaments deck.
The most normal, one might say.
Very normal.
Okay, cool. We want to just come into it, or do you want to do shoutouts first,
I'll
or
do
whatever?
shoutouts.
We'll do all shoutouts afterwards, always.
Main deck, so I'm playing 60 cards,
Yep.
very normal.
And all double sleeves, yeah.
2 Rhino Heart,
Yep.
Because your normal summon is kind of important in this deck, and you realistically can't afford to play 3 of this. You theoretically, you actually probably should play 3 of this.
I mean, in 60 cards, you probably could.
Then I played 3 Sharon, 3 Havness, because it's the only hand trap in my deck, and 3 Merlee. So Merlee sucks in this deck because I don't play Link monsters.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all the tier
You
monsters
were talking
I played.
about that earlier today, actually. You were like, maybe I'll just play one.
And then for the Ishizu monsters, I played 3 Caldo, 3 Mudora, 1 Calbec, and 1 Agito. I usually like playing 3 Agito, but in this version of the deck, where we're not actually playing Virtual World, sorry, spoiler, we're not actually playing Tearlament.
Oh my gosh.
The only reason why I'm playing this is if for the off chance where I draw Caldo with Calback, because then you can go Caldo, pitch Calback, add a Agito, and you trigger the Calback, and then use a Agito to bring back deck, and then you get a Dweller. And it's the only way to make a rank 4 in this deck, so yeah. But it's also just like a nice other consistency boost, because if you do draw these, if you mill them as well, it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair.
In a deck where your engine doesn't do anything most of the time, it's pretty good. And then the rest of the deck, we got 3 Magnuma, 1 Druisworm.
I only play 3 hand traps, he says.
Well, these are monsters.
Yeah, sure.
These are extenders in this deck.
Okay, yeah.
They make Beatrice.
Yeah.
God cards, we played 1 Instant Fusion because it's the best card in the game.
How many times did you open it?
Like 0.
Oh, okay.
There was a time
I was just
where
thinking it was like 60 cards.
there was a
You
time where I
ran to
opened
me.
this and I made it close on my opponent's turn, so it didn't even matter.
Okay, fair.
Cool. And then I played 3 Perlerino, 1 Terraforming, only 1 copy of Scream, and I opted for 2 copies of Sulic. I was umming and ahhing about whether or not I want to play 2 Scream and 1 Sulic, or like 2 Sulic, 1 Scream. In the end, I just decided I'd rather play 2 Sulic because milling this is quite, like, it's drawing this and milling this is a lot better than drawing or milling this, because if you discard this with Qinglong, which you'll see later on, which is the part of the very normal deck, it means that you're able to get access to Rhinoheart or Sulic, which you really, really do need in this deck.
Nice.
And also, it means that you can just like dump this off of Kid Close or Foolish Burial Goods, which you'll see later on.
Yeah.
And it means you
He
can
dumps
add
off
the other
Beatrice
copy.
as well.
You can also
Yeah,
dump
yeah.
it off Beatrice to get the Sulic at the
I
end
was
of
thinking
your
because he
combo.
did it against me.
And then for the not normal part of the deck, we have 3 Foolish Burial Goods. Like I said, this is the midway point in the deck profile, because as you'll see, because usually deck profiles would start
Yeah, so we're
after
actually
this
going to pause
part.
right now. We're just going to
Yeah.
go part 2 next.
So this is the second half of the deck. So we have the 3 Foolish Burial Goods to bridge into.
Nice.
The rest of the engine, which we're playing 3 copies of Lulu, and then we're maxing out on the good virtual worlds. We're maxing out on Lili, Gigi, Lulu, and we're only playing 2 Lao Lao. Not for any particular reason other than the fact that I didn't have a 3rd secret right before entering. But like, legitimately though, this is the worst one to open, because you don't really want to brick on a bunch of level 6s, and you, at least with these you can normal summon them.
Yeah, that's
same thing with the Wen Yan Yan.
Yep.
You don't really need to play more than one of this. I'm playing 3 E-Telly, so it might as well be more copies of this. And I don't want to brick on just like dead Virtual World monsters. If I do brick on E-Telly, I'd rather be able to summon Lulu than have Yan Yan, because it's a tuner. It means you can synchro into Barone.
Nice.
And then for the rest of the Virtual World cards, we're playing 3 Kowloon, the best starter in the deck. Another cool thing about this engine is that Lulu and Lao Lao wins, obviously, which means your Flunder matchup is free, because you can actually special summon win monsters in this deck. Kowloon, one of the best cards ever made. 3 Qinglong. This is a fantastic mill, and also getting off Kowloon's pretty relevant in this format, just because the effect negation effect can come up quite a lot, especially against decks like Flunder.
Nice.
And then 2 copies of Chuche, or Juk, and 1 Shenwu. So I was thinking about only playing 1 copy of Chooch, but the problem is when you have Chooch on the board, you really do need a 2nd copy to send from deck to grave. And also, since you're milling a lot in this deck, you really do want the 2nd Chooch just in rotation, and it means your 1 Chooch your Chooch on board can shuffle back the other one. It's standard like Virtual World theories always. Another cool thing about these cards in this deck is the fact that they can trigger every tier card, like I mentioned earlier. So if you randomly mill a Qinglong like early in your combo, you can match Qinglong out of Virtual World, and you get value by discarding either Sulic, or you can discard a tier and the Fusion Summon, which is really, really strong.
Disguise for effect. Okay,
Yes,
cool.
exactly.
Nice.
And then Shenwu is the exact same, where Reborn's a tier, and then you're able to send a monster, or send a card from hand to grave, and then cool. And then last 3 cards in the deck are the 3 E-Telly, because like I said, it summons Lulu or Nyan Nyan if you have too many tuners. And
Nice.
good card in general.
Good stuff.
It's a nice 60 card deck. Onto the extract, it's a little bit of a mess, but we play 5 fusion monsters in the form of 1 Kid Kalos, 1 Rule Karos to make with the Kid Kalos.
Yep.
1 Kaleido Heart. This is one of the better ones just because it's a level 9, so you can overlay with it. 1 Garura, another card you overlay with. That's kind of the... It's really weird. There's a lot of...
It's an XYZ deck.
It's a really weird incidental synergy in this deck because, yeah, like in the normal tier deck, or you do tend to go for Beatrice, but you only can do that if you start with the Bystials. Whereas with this deck is a Beatrice turbo deck. Every card in this deck basically just goes Beatrice, Beatrice, Beatrice. Because Beatrice on your turn lets you fusion summon, makes a bunch of dudes, or you can just go into a full Virtual World board, and now, with the added benefit of the Ishizu cards, the shufflers, your Beatrice is also now a disruption on your opponent's turn. So it means that the Virtual World cards get even more, like, they give you a lot more value, because in the end phase you're adding back a Lulu of GG. You're able to kind of play through Dweller a lot of times if you open a handful of Virtual World cards and they just have Dweller. You're able to just kind of summon a bunch of Virtual Worlds and just go to town. You don't really need to like out a Dweller or anything. It does still suck when you get Dweller, but yeah, whatever.
It always sucks when you get out.
Yeah. And then speaking of 1 Dweller, you it's really hard to make this. Believe me, I don't play Mud Dragon, so it made it a lot harder. But yeah, 1 Beatrice is the god card in this deck. It's
I almost accidentally helped you make it earlier today.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Beatrice, fantastic card. You literally make it every game. Also with Wallow, these are the best 2 cards in the tier deck by far. These cards are absolutely insane. This is the dark in this extract because the virtual cards unfortunately lock you out of Link monsters, which is the big kind of downfall. Which isn't actually that bad because when you're synchro summoning and you're making the best XYZs in the game, it doesn't really matter if you're missing Dark, Sprint, or Elf.
Okay.
And then I'm playing 1 copy of Enter Blathnir. I never made this. This is just for a gag because you can overlay Kaleido Heart and Shen Shen to make this, which I think is kind of funny. It comes up a lot against Sprite, believe it or not, because they end with a lot of... When you try to break their board, it's hard to kind of clear everything that they have, because if they end with a blue in hand, it's really awkward because they can just make their full board again. But if you end with Enter Blathnir, you can banish the 1 blue from their hand that they usually is the last card in their hand. You're able to just kind of walk away with the game after that. But that never happens like it's any Sprite decks. And then the last XYZ is the 1 Zeus. It's the best XYZ ever made, apart from these 2. Every card here is the best card ever made. And 1-star Charge Warrior, this is just a generic level 6, just lets you draw a card, so it draws into any tier or whatever you need. 1 Coral Dragon, this is removal and also draws a card, but it's a tuner, so that comes up for making your synchros, which are Shen Shen, which is just a walking floodgate. Really fantastic card. It really does wall out a lot of the decks in the meta, because it means cards like Chuche just banish a card in the field, but also your own Druid Swarms that you play in this deck, when you link those off, or, sorry, when you synchro with them, when you synchro Druid Swarm into Shen Shen, it's one of the biggest tempo swings you can have in a mirror match. Because as soon as a Shen Shen comes down, your Druid Swarm is going to banish one of their monsters they control. Because while it's on the graveyard, instead of sending it to the graveyard, so it means that Druid Swarm actually has an effect in the mirror match. And then same thing with Vermilion Dragon Mech, just a really good like generic destroying a card in the field is good. You can also you can do cool things in this deck where you use it to pop one of your opponent's cards. If you have your own Chuche, you can use your Chuche to pop your own, or your Pearl Reno, which is another cool like incidental synergy in this deck. You can use it to destroy your own Vermilion Dragon Mech to add back banished tuners, such as it's just Lulu. And then yeah, the last card in extra deck is Barone. So you're probably wondering, how do you make it? None of the levels really seem to make it so you can actually make this. Well, funnily enough, the good tier monsters are level 4.
Yeah.
And level 4 plus 6 equals 10. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So that's how you make Barone in this deck. Other ways you can make it is... There actually is no other ways to make it.
Is there anything you cut?
Nah. The Enter Blathnir is probably the worst card in the extra deck. I don't know what I'd cut it for,
like Changing might make sense there.
Changing... I don't think there was ever a scenario where I needed another level 10 synchro.
It's just that like its Spanish effect is like really good.
Yeah, I think maybe Mud Dragon. I also think Dweller's pretty mid, to be honest. I think these are the most cuttable cards.
I think one thing you didn't mention was like it's 555.
Yeah, that was the beautiful 5 XYZs, the 5 fusions, and the 5 synchros. So yeah, it's just aesthetically pleasing. It might not necessarily be correct, but it looks nice at the very least. Dweller could have been redoer, to be honest.
It looks good in a Dudenbrook screenshot. That's what matters.
And then as for the side deck, really, there's actually nothing nice here at all. It's just Gamma, because So Gana's kind of a weird card in the meta because it's not necessarily insane against anything, but it's also just good against everything. And in a 60-card deck, you really just need a high-impact hand trap, and I think this is just like the most high-impact one. I don't want to play Imperm because I don't think it's that high impact, but also the added benefit of this being a psychic actually does come up because it's another E-Tele target.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
So like, it means that you can synchro with like Sharon to like make a level 6 synchro, which is like fine.
Yeah.
It just added like cute synergy.
Yeah, even if you really wanted to, you could go real close to make Barone.
Then I played 3 Dark Ruler no more because once again, like I said, you want really impactful cards.
Yep.
Same thing with 3 Lightning Storm. This is just for the poop decks.
Breaking it.
I didn't side in any of these. None of these got activated a single time.
We might talk about matchups in a second as well.
I didn't activate a single card in my side deck today.
Oh, did you not see them?
No,
Just,
I didn't see a single side deck card today. I didn't play
tactics, yeah.
I didn't play
No
against
Thunder.
I didn't play against Flu. I never drew this when I had it in my deck. Oh, I drew it once and I had to discard it for Qingmeng. I never went into time going first in game 3, so this never mattered. I never drew this when I decided it in. I never needed to decide this in, and I never needed to decide this in. So yeah, that's
so
pretty
the side
cool.
deck was just
it was a
pointless.
zero. I might as well play a 0-card side deck because that would have been way cooler.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been like, hey, Jesse Cotton, you can play 14? Come on, I play 0.
Yeah, exactly. As for my matchups I played against, round 1 I played against...
How many Ishizu tiers did you play against? I guess this is a pretty big question.
Yeah, I played against 3 Ishizu tier decks, but one of them was like an Ishizu tier Phantom Knight deck, so it doesn't really count.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Just like, does yours count technically then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah, it counts.
And then the most pretty sprite then.
The next round was I played against Adagnister, which is a really scary matchup, but thankfully the entire deck walls it because they made their Arrival Cybers only 3,000 attack, and literally any of your fusions with the field spell up get over it, so it didn't matter that much.
Fair.
And the other thing with Wallow, which is kind of a very...
It makes it huge!
So Wallow is really important because it means you have an out in your extra deck to Avermax, because you just tribute summon, literally, or you normal summon anything, and you just attack into Avermax while this is on board. Your monster is like 8k attack, and Avermax only gains attack if it battles a special monster, so that's how you beat it.
Oh, okay.
The other way to beat it in this deck is if you don't have access to Wallow already, you can use Scream to reduce its attack by 500, and then tribute summon any Bystial and attack over it, because then it crashes. Round 3, I played against the Mirror Match. Then round 4, I played against the Mirror Match again, and I won. Round 5, I played against like a Madolche deck, and I won. That was a cool one because in game 2, I Vermilion Dragon Mech to pop their back row, which I didn't know what was, and they go D by Recall Fusion. I'm like, okay, and then just make Synchros and XYZs and I win. So I didn't have to play the tier part of my deck. And then the last round I played against Despia, where in like game 3 I was on like 500 life after using my Qinglong to negate their Masquerade, and then I was managed to clear their entire board and make it so they couldn't bring back Wallow, they couldn't bring back their Masquerade to wall one of the attacks because I had Wallow on board and I was able to just shuffle the Masquerade back into their deck and there's attack for a game, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, this deck is a lot of fun. It is just a normal tier Ishizu deck. It just bricks half the time. So it's pretty fun. But you're also able to just do a lot of
Could
things.
you like refine it to like make it less than 60 cards, or is there a point?
Nah, the entire point is to play 60. It's funny.
Oh yeah, just like thinking of like I'm assuming there's lots of people that are big fans of like Virtual World.
Yeah, no, Virtual World's like my favorite deck of all time. I don't think there's any other deck where you can build it in so many different ways, and they just all play very differently, but they're all like they all feel kind of the same. But also they still feel really different because of the things you're doing with Beatrice, or if you're playing like a Bystial deck where you're going Lubellion Tribute Sulkin after you summon Crystal Wing, which is crazy. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Virtual World. And I'm happy I was able to top this once and then throw this deck in the bin where it belongs.
Cheers. Shoutouts or anything else like that?
Shoutouts to Complexity of Card Gaming. Shoutouts to Athens Collectibles. Shoutouts to Owen, my housemate, for driving me up at like 6 in the morning.
Wow,
Shoutouts to Quiche, Chin Wagging, and Wef.
Nice.
And Gamers World.
Ooh. Cheers.